Hello and welcome to my fourth YouTube video. My name is Trose, my pronouns are she, her, and today I'm so excited to be building with you for YouTube in Windenburg. Windenburg is such a beautiful world. It came with the pack Get Together way back when, and today we're going to be building on this 20 by 20 lot on the island in the middle here. It's called Mid Nowhere, which is quite fitting. As you'll see, it quite literally is in the middle of this island. It doesn't have any roads on this island, no local shop. But it's absolutely stunning, and I love the scenery. I love the fake sort of painted mountains in the background there. All of that water is just so gorgeous. Most of this island's sort of lots from EA are very sort of modern lake house kind of vibes, which is very pretty, but I'm going to go with the Windenburg sort of historical style a bit more so. So Windenburg has architectural features that look very Tudor, and I really wanted to hone in on use those today. We are using the tiny build feature, so I am going to make this only 64 tiles today. I do later add some architectural details that don't count as tiles, and I can show you how to do those, so that if you have used all of your tile count but you just want to add a little chimney on the side, it doesn't count towards the tile count. Here I'm just placing another little platform in. I really wanted to add some platforms in again to this build today. I really like to try and use them where I can. Sometimes it's not practical, obviously, but for this I thought it made sense. I always feel like older houses have lots of different levels, all a bit higgledy-piggledy, and steps within the interior as well as exterior. Here I've gone for a very weird shape, as you can see, but eventually, hopefully, you'll think the roofing looks okay eventually, but here I'm just raising it up, the eaves, bringing those back in so that those join together seamlessly at the sides there, which is really satisfying. And as you can see, this roof piece does actually go over the edge on that corner bit there, but not to worry, I do hide that later with a bit of more trickery with the roof. And I'm just placing in more roofing details. I really wanted it to have that extended eaves. I always feel like this looks quite historic, and kind of goes quite well with this Tudor style again as well. I really wanted to use a lot of the get together items today and really just try and hopefully create something quite cute and sweet. Maybe this would be an Airbnb, a sort of like getaway, or it could be a couple's first home. That's the kind of vibes I'm going for. That's what I tend to start with, especially for tiny builds, because I feel as it's a tiny build, it most probably would be a starter build as well. However, I do go a little bit above a starter budget for this build, and we only use Get Together, obviously the base game, Cottage Living, and the Cottage, the Country Kitchen Kit. Yes, that's the one. Sorry. Here I am just moving this roof. So this is where I'm trying to hide that awkward shape that I've kind of left at the corner there, where the roof is. If we kind of create a bit more of a porch, this also just creates the illusion that this is a bit more of a normal sized house. It being 64 is a little bit more reasonable than when it's a 32 micro build, obviously, but sometimes they can still look really, really tiny, and I really like to create sort of room where I can and make it look a little bit larger than it normally would be. So here is where I'm doing the space saving technique. So what you do is you build the walls separately and then pull them together. In that way, it doesn't actually form a room. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, with the tiny living expansion, you can do tiny home residential as a lot type, and as you can see at the top, it has you've placed 64 of 64 tiles at there, and I don't want to go over that. And if I put that chimney in just using a room tool, it would actually make that into a room. So that's how I do that, and I do that quite a lot, you will notice. I don't do it too much. I want to make sure it still counts as a tiny build and I'm not cheating the system too much, but yeah, I can't help myself sometimes. Here as well, I'm just creating a fake porch. So as you know, I love creating fake porches, especially on tiny builds. I love a good porch. Sometimes they're not the best use of space for your tiny builds though. So again, I'm just going to use a staircase within these walls, which actually works a bit better than some other of the porch ideas I've had previously. Here I'm just adding in lots of those beautiful beams. I love these swatches from Windenburg. The like wooden beams with the plaster in between, swatches, very Tudor. We're quite lucky to have quite a lot of, well, I've seen quite a lot of this here in the UK, and I do love it. I know it's quite typical around Europe as well. And I just think it as an architectural style is very beautiful and very interesting to look at. So I wanted to hone in on that and build that in The Sims, which is something I love about The Sims. If you really keep seeing houses that you think are beautiful, you can try and recreate them in The Sims, and it's always super fun. Lots of people ask me sort of how they start building and how they stop making their houses look like boxes, and believe me, I've been there. I definitely went through my box stages when I was first started building, but honestly, just start adding little bump outs, and start adding different roof shapes in, and things like that, and suddenly it will start taking place and start forming a bit better. Shell challenges are also a great way to like get better at building. I always loved doing those. Definitely gets you out of your comfort zone, makes you think about the shape a little bit more. Here I'm just putting in the foundation. As you can see, I put in that staircase there, and it actually fits really nicely with the wood as well. That's the same wood colour, because they're all from the Get Together pack, which is really fun. I do love Get Together. Yeah, as I said earlier, it's quite an old pack now, but it's really fun still. I really like the gameplay in it as well. It's not everyone's cup of tea, of course, and other people might have other favourites, of course, but that's naturally going to happen. If you have a favourite pack or a favourite world to build in, which one is it, friends? Personally, there's a lot of them. I really love building in different worlds because I feel like it inspires builds in so many different ways. But Windenburg is definitely up there, and it has so much influence and style. It's super fun to build in. Here I'm just selecting the packs that we're using, and again I'm just going to go for all of the Get Together swatches on the exterior here. For the windows, the door is from Get Together, and that little peekaboo window in the side of the roof there. That peekaboo window is actually quite deep. It goes quite deep into the room, so that luckily doesn't actually count as a room. Here I'm naturally adding in loads of ivy as well. Who doesn't love this ivy with all the flowers on it? If I can use it, I will try to. It's so pretty. But yes, that box, it actually is hidden inside a roof piece, so it doesn't matter too much inside, but that would have been a problem if I had extended that room. That would have come through into that room. So luckily it is a tiny build today, really. Here I'm just placing in more sort of wooden beams. I wanted this side bit to all be completely wooden beam and the rest to be the lower half brick and the top bit beams. I just feel like, I don't know, but it kind of makes sense. And then obviously as well, the chimneys have a different swatch. I just wanted to add another texture in there. And it might be a little bit too much, but I don't know why, but I always feel weird putting bricks going all the way up the build when you start putting beams in. I'm not sure why. Here I am just placing in lots of beams. Again, I want to make sure I'm keeping it consistent. So every sort of section where there's a corner, I've tried to put a beam on the bottom floor. Here I'm playing around with the roofing, and I realised that actually there's a lot more of a simple way to fix this, and that's to bring that wall out there, which I thought worked so much better than what I was trying to attempt there. I don't know what I was doing, but anyway. I'm also adding in this tiny minuscule bit of roofing just so that a roof joins up and there is not a little gap there. It bothers me when there's small gaps in between roofing and stuff, and if I was to pull the eave out it would overlap onto the porch, so I'm just adding that little bit that you can just see there when I pulled it back then, just to join those roofs together perfectly. Here as well, I'm just adding in a roof decoration at the top. I'm sure there's so many amazing simmers in the community and so many amazing builders as well. I have been building on Twitch, as I mentioned in my first ever YouTube video, for a couple of years now, and oh my goodness, the tips and tricks I've picked up just from watching other streamers or building with my community has been absolutely amazing. If you ever fancy joining us over there on Twitch, please feel free. We'd love to have you over there, and if you do come over from Twitch, say the little Marsh sent you and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. This house, funnily enough, I did ask my mum for some name suggestions, and this was one of them, and I really liked it. As soon as my mum said it, I was like, yes, that's the one. The rest I was a bit but I was really pleased. I was like, a British house name, please. And just feel very lucky to be doing YouTube now as well, and I'm so grateful to have you here watching. I really appreciate it. If you aren't subscribed and you would like to see more of more like builds and things from me, please feel free. I am very new to this and I am learning every time I do another video. but I hope to do bigger builds and some of my really large projects eventually here on YouTube. But for this year at least, there'll definitely be lots of tiny builds. So if you like tiny builds too, that is awesome. And I'll be doing lots of those. So yes, please feel free to subscribe. If you like the video as well, I'd love to see some likes and comments. That will obviously make my day. That'd be so kind of you, thank you. But here I am using the country kitchen kit as well in the kitchen area. So what I've done here is I'm going to use the living space slightly raised up and this kitchen space on the bottom floor. As the front door is there, I feel like it would kick the dust in. But then I've completely contradicted myself. There we are. Completely gone against what I've said there by adding in that back door. So the back door is going to kick all the dust into the living room, but that's a-okay. I also put that beam back in later, but I wanted just to be able to see the kitchen and all of its colours properly whilst I'm building the kitchen. I do realise about now that I was using the island version of these counters. But these are so cute and I love the pastels in this kit. The pastels in this kit are really like neutral and very pretty, and obviously you know me, I love green swatches, so where we can use green swatches I naturally will. And I also, when I originally built this, I actually used the base game appliances. I did add in the cottage living ones just because we do use cottage living a bit more upstairs as well, and I just felt like they fit more, they kind of make sense in this style kitchen. Obviously if you don't have cottage living, then you can obviously use the base game appliances, but please feel free. As you can see there, I was like, oh, actually we could use a really cute one because it's actually cheaper as well, which I was quite shocked at. But here I am as well. We're going to put some clutter in the kitchen here. These everyday clutter, oh yeah, that's the other pack I use as well, I forgot. But I love those mugs. How cute are they? And again with those pastel colours, look so cute. And really fun to use. I do use some more upstairs as well. As I kind of obviously am from the UK, obviously we drink a lot of tea here, so the idea of having mugs everywhere is very sort of homely feeling, and it makes sense to me. I, strangely enough, friends, I'm not actually a tea drinker. I don't drink any hot drinks, and neither does my other half, and I know that's very weird, and if you're British you'll think, what on earth, what is going on? Well, I don't know either. It's all good. Here I am just using tool again to lower those bits of clutter there. Obviously there are other things you can use to lower clutter and put it in the right place. You can use as one of the little shelves from the high school pack, or the red shelf mod, but personally I really love using a tool where I can, just to get a bit more familiar with it. It is quite a tricky one sometimes, so super fun to practice where you can. If you haven't already, Twisted Mexi has a couple of amazing mods that I honestly at this point don't feel like I can build without. Obviously I could if I really wanted to, but I just love, they add so much to the game without actually adding any CC into the game, and I just feel like that's such an amazing thing. And I'm super grateful for those mods. If you don't know which ones I'm talking about, I have the Twisted Mexi Better Build By mod and also the Twisted Mexi Tool mod, and both of those are incredible. Better Build By organises your debug so that every single item you will see the Sims interacting with, so the debug items or all of the items that you see within the worlds, so random trees that are not in your build by and random bits of grass and flowers, they're all going to be there in your Better Build By. And what's also great about those live edit and debug objects is that, especially when you're doing a budgeted build, they mostly are not, they don't have a price, which is amazing, and you can create some really gorgeous natural looking landscaping around your lot without it costing lots and lots of simoleons for your Sims. Here again, so I've done the kitchen and I really wanted it to be kind of pastel-y and fun, but very sort of like countryside and homely at the same time, or homey, depending where you're from. I know homely and homey have two completely different meanings depending where you are in the world. I mean it in the sense of like, it looks like a home and it's cozy. I know homely can actually mean it's ugly, which I find so bizarre. That's something I've learned on Twitch. But it's super fun, and I love discussing languages and the difference between words and Twitch as well. It's super fun and interesting to me. Here I thought it'd be nice to tie together all of the rooms using the same rug, and I love that rug. It's base game and I know it's pretty basic, but look at how lovely that green matches. It's not exactly the right swatch, and I know we always get like, Obviously, we would like matching swatches, but at the same time, it's nice for everything not to match, because realistically, how many of your wood swatches match, or how many of your rugs match exactly to your sofa colour and things like that. I do complain, I will be honest, I do complain sometimes on my Twitch streams about the matching swatches and the lack of them. But actually, realistically, it actually makes more sense that they don't match. Maybe that's quite controversial, I'm not sure. But here I am just placing in the bathroom as well. I wanted to make sure to include both the shower and the bath and all of the clutter, including the toilet roll. Very important, especially because this build didn't really have a particular budget, so I really felt like we could use all of the little clutter details today, and just make it look a little bit more loved and a little bit more lived in. I do leave quite a lot of space in the living room there. I'm just trying to leave your space because I really like the idea and get together of, obviously there is a few party locations or secret party locations, so I wanted to leave enough room for your Sims to have people over, have a good old dance in that living room, and really just utilise the space, especially as we've got a tiny build. Here I am also doing the bedroom upstairs. This bedroom actually worked out a lot larger than I originally thought it was going to be, which I was very pleased about because it meant we could put in all of the extra objects. But yes, normally when I do a 64 tile build, so the tiny tier build from Tiny Living, I try and put 2 bedrooms in, just because obviously it makes it a little bit more functional, more Sims can live there, the more Sims that can live there, the quicker they can all gain their skills together, that kind of thing, and the relationships build faster. But for this, I really wanted it to be based on sort of like a couple's retreat and just be very cutesy and maybe a couple's first home or something like that. I do use those really cute like cottage living jars with the fairy lights in. I think they are so sweet. And here I am just placing in sort of like your storage clutter. And also I'm going to put a mirror there, but again, oh gosh, this everyday clutter kit, isn't it so cute? The items that you can add in, it's definitely going to be one of those packs that I hope I could use all the time, but at the same time I will do restricted builds with packs now and then just for fun. But it is such an easy to use pack, and through so many different styles of builds and so many different types of homes use all of this clutter. It just feels a lot more sort of personal and almost human, but not quite. Here I've just added in a little desk. Maybe your Sims might be writers, they might be illustrators. Obviously they can't illustrate on the desk unless they've got the tablets, but yeah, just thought I put a few things in there so you could kind of make up your mind whether or not you wanted to put a laptop there or what you wanted to do with that little desk. And then also just because it depends on what packs you have, especially with electronics, what ones you would go for and maybe use. So I left that to you. Here I'm also doing a little nook for someone to sit and have a quiet read. Maybe they are a bit tired, maybe they didn't want to stay up for the party that's happening downstairs, so they are going upstairs to have their cup of tea, take their reading glasses and pull out a book. The kind of like perfect little escape, I feel, would have one of these little reading nooks. Obviously you might have it in a bay window or something like that maybe. But for this, it just fit in this space quite nicely, so that's what I did. Here I'm just putting in lots more clutter and things. And yes, friends, what's been your favourite kit so far? I know it's not everyone likes kits, but personally I really love that they add just some more things for us to use, especially if you really like building or if you really like CAS. Obviously I personally don't actually buy any of the CAS kits anymore, but just purely because I don't make enough Sims to justify it. However, I love the build buy kits so much. They really add different styles and architectural things to the game, and I always find them so fun to use. But what has been your favourite one so far? And this one is actually a really difficult question for me to answer. I have no idea, because genuinely all of them have inspired me to build in different styles and look up on Pinterest the different architecture styles and things like that. I think though probably Oasis, the courtyard kit, sticks out in my brain as being one of those that really sort of blew me away. I loved the quality of it. It felt so expensive, and it felt that the textures just felt so good. I don't know, it really kind of reminded me of CC. But in the best way. I don't tend to use a lot of CC, but I always get very jealous when I see all the gorgeous textures on Twitter and Instagram and places like that. I always find it so fun to watch. and see people use with the lighting in The Sims and things like that. So many amazing creators in the Sims community. I just absolutely love seeing what people create with it. The reason that I don't tend to use CC is because I do feel bad for the console players that can't download it. I'm hoping this CurseForge thing helps, but I don't think it's going to, is it? For the console players still, unfortunately. Hopefully in the future though, or Sims 5, they'll make sure that CC is available to everyone. But here I'm just again adding in sort of trees that are from Get Together. So I'm making sure that I'm sticking with items that are actually from the world. That's my favourite thing to do, just because it makes your lots look so cohesive with what's going on around it. I'm also adding in a little garden here. I thought it'd be super fun to do this. I do add in a lot of hedges right now. A lot of hedges. And as you can see, they weren't very well lined up there, so I just keep going over them there. Do you have a favourite hedge in the game? Weird question, but do you have like a go-to hedge or fence that you always like to use on your builds? I'm always curious about this one because I know lots of builders do have their favourites. I personally just tend to use what's in the game or with that pack for the different worlds that I build in. However, the thing that I always go back to is the garden stones, and yes, guilty as charged, I will be doing that in today's build as well. I know I can't help myself. Literally every YouTube video we've done so far, I have used that garden path. Maybe for my 5th video, and I'm not making any promises, maybe for the 5th video I won't use that garden path. We shall see. I'm still not making any promises because I do love that garden stone. I just think it adds so much to a build, but we shall see. Maybe there is another way we can create quite a creative, different path, or maybe we will build something in a city, who knows. If you'd like to see my next YouTube video, that will be released next week, Sunday on 6:30. So if you would like to see that, if you want to just pop a subscribe or anything like that and turn notifications on, that would be amazing. I'd really appreciate it. And also thank you so much to everyone who has already subscribed. I can't believe we've already gotten over 270 subscribers. I am so incredibly grateful. Thank you so much for all of your support. I just personally love building The Sims, and I'm so grateful to be able to do this and get to the point where I feel like I can. On YouTube. As you mentioned earlier, obviously I've been Twitch streaming for a while and I've loved that, and the community has always been so supportive and amazing over there. But yeah, just super excited about everything. Here I am adding in the garden path. Shock horror, friends. You would have never guessed it. Let's see. Okay, so adding in all the garden path stones, and again, if you've never seen a YouTube video by me before, the garden path stones are actually debug items. So you will need to do the debug cheat in order to find them, and then sift through all of those objects to find them. There are 3 of them, and I interchange them so that they look a little bit random, and I just really love using them. If you have Twisted Mexes mod, however, they will be organised for you in the rock section in the landscaping section of your build by, which is amazing, naturally, as I can always find them really, really quickly, and I love them. But so worth doing. And here I am just lowering the hedge in. I wanted the hedge to all be exactly the same height. I don't think you'd see a gardener make them a different height just because of the size of the raised up bit there, the hill almost. And they'd all want it to be quite straight, but obviously it's still quite higgledy-piggledy. It's not perfect. I'm imagining this maybe is done by a very sweet sort of like gardener, a local gardener, but maybe not sort of like, I don't know, a maze kind of hedge. I want it to look quite natural still and garden-like. I always try and go for quite a natural look for my gardens. I just really enjoy that whole sort of like English country garden feel, secret garden. That whole thing has always been quite, I've always loved that, especially growing up. So it's super fun to try and replicate that kind of thing into the game. I always tend to use the same sort of 3 or 4 bushes as well, as you can probably tell, for each build, I mean. So I won't vary away too much from a couple, just because it can get overwhelming, although sometimes it really works. It really depends, and honestly, I am no expert, and obviously this is just what works for me. So I always take it as like a little grain of salt with what people say about building The Sims 4, because honestly it's just so different for everyone, and it's what you enjoy at the end of the day and what you think looks nice, which is important. As long as you're having fun, that's the main thing. Here I am again placing in the garden stone path just at the front of the house, just so you've got a bit more direction. And I've also hidden the bin around the side. However, I have not added the mailbox yet. Oh dear. I do thankfully remember the mailbox right at the end of this build, thankfully, and actually remember to record it, so I feel quite accomplished today. Thank you again so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you liked the build and would like to see more builds from me, if you want to give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, anything like that, I would massively appreciate it. Thank you so much for sitting through that. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week. Toodle pip.